This is the MGM 1 month overview reading for the month of February 2024. It's currently December 28th, 2023, 7:12 p.m. Eastern Time. MGM at the time of this reading is $45.05, that's USD. And the shuffle video that we're about to play for you for the February MGM reading was created on December 5th, 2023 at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's this video here in the left lower corner. Behavior for MGM, through the overall theme of behavior, is going to be bumping along resistance sideways. It is, however, also overlapped with a unicursal hexagram like many of the other February theme card readings. So significant opportunity. Either there's a sharp drop on a multi-day scale, like on a year-to-date kind of scale, taking place in February, or we're lining ourselves up with a rally prior to a sharp drop in the coming reading. But I think it could even be both. We'll see as we get into it in more detail. It's crossed with a period of sideways rotation along a key support level, again relevant on like a year-to-date scale. We'll rotate sideways along it, rise to meet the nearest important resistance, and then fall back down and continue rotating sideways. So that type of behavior mixed with multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance. The behavior around the highest side, we have a notable decline off of the highest side, down to and through support to meet another support. Then we bounce along that support for a little bit before breaking down through more supports, like multiple supports out of the high. And then behavior around the highest high, we have a fast sudden move higher standing out on a multi-day scale out of the low. Behavior around the lowest low, a fast sudden move higher. And before we go any further, I want to make sure everybody's aware the whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of the competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. I was a Wall Street broker when I had a near-death experience, realized I didn't belong on Wall Street, and it occurred to me that I was there for a reason. If I could transmute some of that energy, that money that comes from all over the world and goes through Wall Street, if I could find a way to take some of that and put it towards a better purpose, I could help change the world. And so together, you and I as a team are doing that by following through on the rule of karma for the channel. I put out the content. Most of it is free. Even the parts that aren't free are still pretty underpriced, but I put out the content, and what I expect is that everybody who's profiting from this information goes to the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders. 5% of all profits should be donated forward to one of the charities here. Just click on the link and donate and help cure cancer, or help dogs, you know, animals, I should say, cats and dogs. And then 5% of the profit should also be donated back to the channel to support the channel and say thank you. If you're international, you can use this app Wise. It works well. Either that or you can donate through tipping on YouTube. But with that said, you're left with 90%. Make sure to spend that money out of love. As long as you follow those rules, the universe considers you an angel investor. The channel is going to send it back to you tenfold for following through on that. Blessings to all my angel investors. So going left to right across the screen, we have the days of the trading days, I should say, of the month numbered. And then again, in the lower row, we have the same thing, 19th to the 29th. What's important to understand is that not each card's energy is going to line up perfectly with one day of time. So there may be cases where the timing is off, plus or minus one day of wiggle room. In a lot of the cases, that won't even happen. But in cases where it does happen, it's important to understand you want to follow the sequence of events as predicted, because the sequence of events will remain 100% accurate, even in cases where we're plus or minus a day here or there. That's how you keep yourself on track. So on the first, we have a significant reversal on a multi-day scale that'll stand out. There's also a lowest low right there, boom, on the start at the start of the month, or first lowest low, I should say. It looks like we go from our first lowest low, notable reversal, into a peak or prominent peak on the second. It'll be an overbought crest that we sell off from pretty notably there through multiple support levels, and that could be a highest high. I think that's probably a highest high thus far. And then on the fifth, we've got the full card, which in the case is pretty wild behavior, but I think a significant move to the upside there, an unexpected move to the upside, taking us to a prominent peak or a higher high there around the end of the day on the 5th and or on the early day on the 6th. There's a notable opportunity there on the 5th that'll stand out amongst other opportunities on like a year-to-date kind of scale, or at least on a 1-month scale. We'll talk about that in more detail in the paid version. And then on the 6th, we have a period of sideways rotation with a fast sudden move higher ending that period of sideways rotation. It looks like there's also somebody speaking. There's somebody speaking there around the 5th, 6th, probably the 6th in the morning near a peak. The market or the MGM chart will be near a peak, and it's about finance or something to do with. It has to do with finance or economics. There's a male leader speaking there, and it's somehow that whoever's speaking that impacts MGM in some way. I'm seeing something to do with like acquisition of land. But whoever's speaking, I'm advised not to rely on what they're saying. On the 7th, we have a decline through multiple support levels. It may be from a high, like we might see that same high from the 6th, might see it again on the 7th, it's possible, but a notable decline there in a day trade opportunity I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. On the 8th, we have a notable move higher on a multi-day scale, especially towards the later part of the day, taking us into a peak or a crest. On the 9th, probably early to mid part of the day, and from that peak or crest we sell off through multiple support levels, cross-shading congruency there. So it looks like whatever the peak is that we create, that near overbought peak on the 9th, on the 12th we likely open lower than the price level of the peak from the 9th, and then we have a notable rally early in the day taking us to another peak, also I think probably slightly lower. So on the 12th we have we open at near a trough. There's a notable move to the upside creating a peak, and then we decline further in the day into another trough towards the end of the day of the 12th, rallying on the 13th into a crest that we sell off from down to and through support to do a U-shaped reversal below that support, come back and reuse it as support. And it looks like there's another prominent trough at the end of the day on the 13th with a big move overnight maybe, or like to the upside. We have on the 14th a prominent move higher, breaking through a resistance level, staying above it briefly, and then breaking back down through that same price level with a full retracement. On the 15th, we have 3 pokes through the same trend line, followed by a sharp drop off of that 3rd poke, and then more rallying into the 16th, where we have a peak early in the day and a trade opportunity, followed by another big move to the upside after the rally ends on the 16th, early in the day after that peak. There's another big move to the upside to another peak towards the end of the day there, or early in the day on the 20th. The 20th is sideways fluidity, equal amounts of bulls and bear inflow and outflow. So you can see like a tight range, or it could be big price swings, but either way it's kind of like sidewaysy along the support level. On the 21st, we have a decline to and through support. We meet another support, and then we rotate sideways along that support. And again, that's support on like a multi-day scale. There's a trade opportunity there. Before we go any further, let's take a look. MGM is one of the readings that we just started doing again in 2024, so we don't actually have a December monthly to look at as far as reviewing the past accuracy. But I can take a look at the 2023 reading, and we had a highest high around July, nailed that July 30th, 31st roughly, and that took us into a significant trough, and you can see that was October where we had a cross-reading congruency for a significant low there, and then we went back to highs at the end of the year, which I had as highest high, so it may be that we continue rallying in January. I have to go back and look at the January reading to be sure, but we also had this significant trough here in March, significant trough in January, significant trough in March, significant trough in June, highest high in July, significant trough in August. We got a little screwy here. I see where I went wrong. Pretty solid reading. We got a little haywire in the last quarter here. But with that said, we also did the MGM one-year reading for 2023 all the way back on December 7th, 2022. So that was a year ago, guys. Over a year ago. We're still utilizing it today. So if you're interested in supporting the channel with a subscription to the paid version of the monthly MGM, it's a really great way to support the channel. People that have a paid subscription for the monthlies, they get a lot of information that, first off, you don't find in the public version, but you don't find that information anywhere, guys. Anywhere. It's not that it's just like you can only find it here in the paid version. No, you can't find it anywhere, this information, prior to it taking place in real time. This is the only place that you can find that information. Once it's already happened, you can probably find that info anywhere. But this is the only place where you can find it ahead of time. So extremely undervalued. And the way that you go ahead and you get that subscription, you go to our website, tarotfortraders.com, hover over our services, click on SO Meta Posts, scroll down to monthly subscription, click here to order. And you can subscribe to any one of these ticker symbols or crypto and get the paid version, which includes all of the best the timing of all of the best trades that we see, as well as what type of chart behavior to look for as far as entry and exit on like one-day charts. And then any price level information that we're able to extrapolate, as well as any trades that are relevant on like a multi-day standpoint or multi-month standpoint or a multi-year standpoint. And then the overall performance compared to that of the S&P 500 in this case. We also take a look at the cross-reading congruencies to see where we are in the greater, where we fit into the greater picture of things with the overall 10-year. All right, so like there's a high around the cusp of this. It's hard to say if it's somewhere around the cusp of the 16th, 20th. So like over the weekend, sort of either the 16th or the 20th. A lot of the Februarys have a peak here on the 20th. So it might be that it carries over here, but we have these price swings or sideways fluidity on the 20th. And so that sideways fluidity, equal amounts of bulls and bears, inflow and outflow, back and forth along key support there on the 20th. We probably start near peak and we end up like rotating sideways along key support on a multi-day scale, and then a decline on the 21st to and through support to meet another support. We rotate sideways along that support. There's a trade opportunity there as well. We'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. Decline continues on the 22nd and even possibly into early on the 23rd. There's a day trade opportunity on the 23rd, and a lot of price change. Looks like we end up at a peak towards the end of the day, like a near overbought peak. The following trading day on the 26th, we should be near another prominent peak at the beginning of the day, and sell off from that pretty notably on a multi-day scale there on the 26th. Day trade opportunity there as well. We'll talk about it in the paid version. And then on the 27th, we have a failed attempt to break through key resistance, followed by a decline through key support. That's a key resistance on a multi-day scale, and again there's cross-reading congruencies here. That decline probably takes us into the 28th, and then out of a trough on midday on the 28th, there's a notable move to the upside, taking us back to a peak towards the end of the day on the 28th, and then it's kind of a flatter day on the 29th. Most likely we have like a sideways, there's a resistance level on the 29th that's highlighted where we kind of like flatten out around it, but there's a lot of price movement there too, so it's not like a flat day. I think we have a trough in the afternoon and then a peak at the very end of the day, either that or on the following trading day. And the sneak preview for March, we have a brief peak that's easily missed, followed by a decline through multiple support levels at some point there in March. We'll talk about that in more detail when we get into the March reading. As far as the highest highs and lowest lows. All right, so we have like a highest high thus far here around the 5th, 6th, possibly the 7th. We go from a lowest low thus far to a highest high, and then a higher highest high thus far here on the 5th, 6th, 7th, and then we're into a lower low here on the 13th, 14th, followed by highs again around the 16th, 17th. Hard to say if those are going to be higher or lower. Those are probably higher highs. It's hard to say, but there'll be prominent highs there, maybe even the beginning of the third week here before a sharp decline. And I think that this decline here is going to be really significant. Oh, I left out the unicursals. The actual lowest low for MGM in February, I'm pretty sure is going to be on the 23rd, or the 22nd or the 23rd. It's either the same low that we see from the 13th, 14th, or more likely it's going to be a lower one. And then there is some possibility of an even lower one midday on the 29th, but that's kind of, it's not really reliable. There's a lot going on there. Highest highs looks like we probably have in the 4th week there, right around the 27th. And look out for a sharp drop around the 7th. And that's MGM for February 2024. Let me know what you think by hitting that like button. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. It really helps out the channel. But most importantly, make sure to follow that rule of karma. You know where to go. You know what to do. Blessings to all my angel investors. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay tuned if you got the paid version. Okay, so as far as cross-reading congruencies, in the 2024 one-year reading, we have the Lover's card appearing towards like the later part of the year. Right, in November, and that's after Prince of Wands is cross-reading congruency to like a low on the 10-year reading. So it's possible that that's taking place here. That would be really low. I don't know. It's going to be significant trough there. But in any regard, what we're looking for is we want to trade out of this low into this peak, and then we should be able to do a short back when from that peak we retrace the move higher all the way back to that trough, which will probably be somewhere here in like 2025. But 2025 ends with a fast sudden move higher, and that rally continues into 2026 where we see even higher price levels. So we want to look in February. We want to be looking for opportunities to open up longs in early February, and close longs and possibly open up shorts in late February. From the standpoint of trading within the month of February, the best trade... Okay, so in the midst of the decline that we see there from the 21st through the 22nd into the 23rd, that decline is going to take us to a lowest low. It could be the lowest low that we see around from the price level around the 13th, 14th, or more likely it's going to be a lower one. So what I would do is I probably, if when we meet the lowest low thus far, that price level from the 13th, 14th, when we meet that price level, I'd probably open up a partial long, and then if we go lower, like I expect, I would open up, try and time it, but I would look to open up to add to that short position. And this is before a big move on the 23rd from a trough all the way into a peak, a prominent peak towards the end of the day. So you could do you could also do a day trade there on the 23rd where you open up a long in the midst of the decline and then close it at the end of the day. But I would likely, so you could close it there for a profit, or you could risk holding it longer. It's probable that will go higher on the 27th. But that's after a sharp drop off of the same highs that we see at the end of the day on the 23rd. We'll see that price level roughly again on the 26th. Maybe higher, but first that price level and then a drop. And then we go into a higher price level at the end of the day on the 26th, or more likely on the 27th. That would be a pretty good spot to close out of a long position, take profits there. And then in the midst of that big move to the upside midday out of the trough on the 28th to a peak there at the end of the day on the 28th, I would open up a short position in anticipation of this big move here in March to another trough. There's probably a really big move here to the upside. So on the 5th, if we do see a highest high thus far on the 5th towards the end of the day, I would open up a partial short, and I'd probably have another opportunity to add to that short early in the day on the 7th before a notable decline on the 7th. In the midst of a period of volatility, that's where I would look to close that short, either for the day trade or for the swing trade from the 5th. On the 12th, in the midst of a rally early in the morning out of a trough to a peak, you could open up a short and close that short on the cusp, or at the end of the day, it looks like on the 13th at a lowest low thus far, or close. Princess of Wands is right there. So that's like on a multi-day kind of trade, that's a significant location to open up a short. You could probably hold that short until into the 23rd, and possibly even lower, it's hard to say. But the 23rd would be a good place to exit early on the 23rd. Oh, and then the overall performance of MGM versus the S&P 500. So you can see how they follow very, very similar patterns, and both of them even have a unicursal hexagram in the theme position. I'd probably want to be lined up for continued downturn in early March, but as far as the overall performance, the S&P 500 outperforms MGM in the month of February 2024. And that's the paid version of MGM for February 2024. Thank you so much for supporting the channel with the paid version. Without you guys, I would not be able to put out this content and fulfill my purpose. So much love and blessings to all my angel investors. I'll see you guys on the next one.